When I was 24, I started renting the downstairs apartment in my uncle and aunt house just to save money, but also have a little more privacy, even though my uncle and aunt would go away a decent amount. It still just felt like I had no privacy and couldn't even have friends or girls over in peace. The downstairs apartment is separated by a lockable door in the stairway. It was an open layout down there, with the mini kitchen being a part of the living room area. There was then my bedroom, bathroom, and laundry room down the hall, and a side entrance through the living room. This happened on a weekend that my uncle and aunt were away, so I could be as loud as I wanted. I had my friends Rafi and Sam over just to shoot the bal nitoa and have a couple drinks on the couch watching the hockey game. Since my uncle and aunt weren't home, we would down, blasting music as we chilled. I wouldn't say I got drunk, but I definitely got a buzz going by the end of the game. I would keep the door between my apartment and the upstairs unlocked when my uncle and aunt were gone, since I didn't have to worry about them randomly coming down. I kept the drinks in the fridge upstairs since it was bigger and quite literally just worked. Better since my friends drove and had been drinking, both of them decided to crash at my place for the night. The couch down there was massive. It could easily sleep 3 people if they laid down the correct way. So after a pretty long night of drinking, I said goodnight and went to my room to go to sleep. I found myself waking up in my bed a few hours later. It was still 3 a.m. I immediately heard what most likely woke me up. I heard footsteps from upstairs. Someone was walking around up there. It was a pretty natural assumption that it was Rafi or Sam going upstairs to check my uncle and aunt fridge for cold water or something, so I didn't let it bother me. I closed my eyes again only to hear something else. Just a couple minutes later, the sound of my bedroom doorknob. Someone tried twisting it, but it was locked. I always lock my bedroom door. It's just a force of habit. I wondered why either of them were trying to come in, but I was tired and figured if I just didn't say anything and pretended to be asleep, they'd go back to sleep themselves. Maybe it sounds weird, but I just didn't have the energy to be bothered at all. And it worked. I fell asleep shortly after that. When I woke up the next morning, Anthony was already gone, but Jay was still asleep on nearby couch when he heard me open the fridge door. He slowly started moving around and rubbing his eyes. I asked him if he was trying to come into my room last night, and he said no, he didn't think so, but that he didn't remember because he got pretty drunk. He and I went to a nearby deli to get some bacon, egg, and cheeses and coffee, and then we ate them in my backyard. He left not long after that, and I pretty much went about my day as usual. I didn't ask Anthony if he tried coming into my room, because honestly, I didn't care that much about it. It really wasn't a huge deal. I think I spent most of that Saturday out of the house doing stuff with other friends. I got back home pretty late at night, but not really intoxicated because that day was more of a marathon, and by then I'd sobered up. I was beat though, so I had a snack washed and went straight to bed. When I say went to bed, I actually mean I crawled into bed and watched like an hour of something on TV after. I turned off the TV right away. I heard it creaks and thumps from above and almost sounding like footsteps similar to the night before, directly overhead in the kitchen. Upstairs, I had to really focus and listen, but the sound stopped. I felt my heart start beating a bit faster. I felt a slight nervous feeling in my gut. For a few minutes, as I was sitting up and waiting to hear something else, eventually, I laid back down and relaxed, realizing it was most likely just some normal house settling noises, and my paranoid thoughts were making them out to be louder than they were. I couldn't have been more wrong. I should have trusted my initial feeling. When I heard the doorknob to my bedroom door move again, I sprang up so quickly that you'd think I was about to get hit by a bus. The doorknob only moved for a couple seconds like it did the night before. But tonight, there was a light knock at the door, followed by the doorknob. I didn't say a word. Reached for my phone, which was on the bed, and started texting my family along with Anthony and Jay. I knew the chances of it being one of my friends were next to zero, but deep down I was hoping one of them would buy. Some chance respond back saying, "Yes, it's me." My parents didn't answer the phone. They must have been asleep. They were not supposed to be back until Monday. There was no way I was about to. "Say who's there." I quietly got out of my bed and hid behind the corner dresser, grabbing a blunt object and the scary chance that whoever was out there would kick the door. Down and rush the bed. I'm not kidding. I think 10 minutes went by, and I didn't move from the spot. But there wasn't another set of knocks. I called 911 finally, and whispered as quietly as I could, while still being loud enough to hear. I waited on the line with a 911 operator until the police arrived. Since I didn't feel safe exiting the room, I asked the operator if she could tell the police to meet me at my bedroom window. Once an officer was outside my window, they gave it a tap, and I went to open it. Thank God. I was on the first floor. I handed him the key to the side door, and moments later, I heard then entrance to my apartment open. It was only then that I left my bedroom and was greeted by 2 officers. I turned on all the lights. My apartment was small, with not many places to hide, so the search down there was quick. Then we went up to the main floor of the house and searched it. Nothing and someone. We got upstairs. I told the officers what each room was before they'd enter. It was when they entered my uncle and aunt room that I heard a commotion. About 30 seconds later, I was outside in the hallway when I heard it. Took one peek into the room and saw 2 officers yelling at someone. Under the bed, I felt a knot in my stomach. I was told to wait downstairs. It was minutes later that they were walking down a tall, dirty, scary-looking man in a sweatshirt and shorts. They asked me if I knew this man, and I said of course not. The look of hate that man gave me was haunting. He looked like he could have been homeless, crazy, or both. Once he was out of the house, I felt a million times better. The police told me that if I or my uncle and aunt wanted to follow up with this, to call the precincts after they left. The first thing I did was text every family, parents, friends group thread I had, being that it was so late only a few people responded. I called my uncle and aunt first thing in the morning to explain what happened. They were, of course, in awe, as anyone would be, but because the man was homeless and nothing was apparently stolen, my uncle didn't pursue any legal action. I feel like it's possible I left the front window unlocked that night. Rafi and Sam and a few more friends came over, and he simply walked right in when we were blasting music, or a scarier thought, he could have been in the house for much longer than that, and we just never. If any of you have experienced a similar incident, you can share it in the comments below. I can turn your story into a video. If something like this has happened to you, or someone close to you, feel free to tell me. I will create a video based on your story.